All right, welcome back to the Virtue Bowling Supply YouTube channel. My name is Chris and I'm here to bring you guys the high rev perspective.
And my name is Josh and I'll be bringing the low rev perspective.
Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Ebonite GB5 Hybrid, and I'm going to be comparing that to the Storm Bionic and the Hammerhead Pearl.
And I'll be comparing it to the Storm Bionic and the Deviate Severe Collision. These comparisons will give us and you an idea of what these pieces look like going down the lane. At the end, we will give our honest, unbiased review anywhere from nuts to trash. With that being said, we are here on a fresh house shot at Bolero Union Hills. With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you out on the lanes.
This one to me was really good. Kind of that almost benchmarky shape, but like almost a step down from that. Do you think the cover is just slightly weaker than you would find on some of your benchmark shapes, but the length and the smoothness off the end of the pattern while still retaining energy and hitting the pins with a lot of power, I feel like this one's gonna be really good, especially for higher rev rate. It felt pretty similar to the GB5 Pearl, but just less quickness and friction response. The GB5 Pearl, sometimes I felt like when I got it slow, it kind of saw the friction a little too much and went sideways. This one still had a decent amount of length through the front part of the lane, but just with that smoothness off the end of the pattern looked really good to me and kind of got those off hits, and when I threw it really good going through the pins, it was fantastic. So this one I thought ball reaction was really good. So now I'm gonna go and throw the Bionic and see how that compares. All right, to me, the Bionic is a stronger option to the GB5 Hybrid. Out of box, it looks like the GB5 Hybrid has a decent amount of surface, but it floats down the lane a decent amount, and the Bionic out of box for me felt really strong, so I kind of had to put power edge on it just to get to see some shape a little bit more, and I feel like that kind of makes this a little bit closer to the GB5 Hybrid, but overall I feel like the more rounded shape than the GB5 Hybrid. The GB5 Hybrid I felt like floated just a little bit more and honestly wanted to retain a little bit more energy than the Bionic. So now I'm gonna go ahead and throw the Hammerhead Pearl and see how that compares. To me, these honestly fit a similar spot because I feel like the Hammerhead Pearl is a bit stronger for where it fits in the bag. The GB5 Hybrid is definitely a little bit earlier and smoother off the end of the pattern. The Hammerhead Pearl wanted to float a little bit more just because the cover is quite a bit cleaner, but the roundness almost hooks that ball reaction off the end of the pattern, kind of makes it fit in the similar spot. I do think the friction response of the Hammerhead Pearl is quite a bit more. Definitely not as smooth as the GB5 Hybrid. All right, final thoughts on the GB5 Hybrid. Like I said earlier, I feel like this ball is gonna be pretty versatile, especially for the higher rev rates. I feel like this fits somewhere in the kind of medium smooth category and maybe even weak and smooth, just because of how much it kind of floated down the lane. But ultimately, how smooth the ball was off the end of the pattern with still having enough energy to kind of continue through the pins. I think this one's just gonna be really good and really versatile for a lot of, especially high rev rate players. So to me, this one's gonna have to go in the fire category.
Ball for me was a little cleaner than I expected it to be. I did have a little bit of a struggle with it because it was super dull out of box, which kind of tricked me into playing the wrong part of the lane. I felt like I had to play straighter with it, but it just hooked and it was so quick to friction that it was really hard to control. I felt like as I moved further left, it didn't really get much better until I made like a big jump left. Basically, it just was so clean that it needed to be in oil most of the way, and once it saw friction, it went. And that was really wherever it saw friction. And so that's kind of the problems I had with it at the get-go, was that it just wanted to hook so early on me, but especially with the fresh surface, so it was kind of like a double whammy there. But overall, still not a bad shape once I got there. Just for me, just not my type of bowling ball. Really made me had to open up my angles and just be comfortable doing what I'm not comfortable in, which is just not my A game overall. So again, there may be a time where the lane calls for this type of shape, but for me, I feel like I can throw other balls when other people would be throwing this and just be fine throwing those stuff. So now I'm gonna go ahead and throw the Storm Bionic and see how it compares. Just threw 5 shots with the Storm Bionic. For me, this ball is one of those balls that I would throw when someone else could throw the GB5. I felt like this ball gave me a more tumbly shape. Even though it was a little stronger, a little earlier, I felt like it's controlled the lane better and allowed me to kind of predict the ball motion a little bit more, and wasn't so, you know, not hook, over hook kind of motion. It just allowed me to kind of know, yeah, I made 10 pin here and there, but at least I'm consistently getting to pocket and not fearing that I'm gonna go 4 through the middle. Now we're gonna go ahead and throw 5 shots with a severe collision and see how it compares. Just threw 5 shots with a severe collision. As you guys have heard before, this is one of my favorite balls, but for today, it just wasn't quite the shape. I wasn't super comfortable with it because it was kind of in the middle of transition, and it was tough to kind of figure out if I wanted to play more of the hold or more of the hook, and this ball just didn't really quite see it on either of those. Felt like when I got it to friction, it was too quick, but when I didn't, it just didn't really want to do anything. But I just felt like I was kind of trapped in between zones, which is partially on me, but compared to the GB5, I do think it's a little bit stronger. Overall, I just feel like it hooks earlier, and even though the cover stocks may be quick to friction, it definitely is smoother off of it because it's hooking sooner. I'm not so angular like the GB5. Final thoughts on the GB5 Hybrid. For me, this ball, I was kind of anticipating it to be pretty good. I thought it was going to be a little earlier and stronger than what it was, but fortunately for me, it just was a little cleaner. Honestly, I wish it was even cleaner, because I feel like it would have been better, just because it would have been smoother and didn't want to pick up so early. But I just felt like for me, this ball was just not the right shape. It was just in between categories in my sense, where I either needed to be earlier and not hook as much down lane, or weaker, get through the fronts and hook more down lane, and it just didn't quite fill, you know, my eye. So for today, it is going to have to be a potato. I felt like this ball just wasn't shaping the right way.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video useful, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.